In the first short video, I discussed the initial reason why I did start thinking that the citadel we currently call the Temple Mount was actually Fortress Antonia, and that therefore the layout isn't this, what the conventional opinion is, with Fortress Antonia here on the northwest side of the temple, but more likely to be a configuration like this, with Antonia on that citadel and the temple just south of it. I did indicate that I would elaborate on this in several separate videos, addressing this topic from different angles. And in this video, I will discuss the turbulent events that took place, culminating in the destruction of Jerusalem. Now, these events are described by Josephus, and his description will actually make sense when we assume that this is the Fortress Antonia, and it doesn't make sense when we assume that this is the Temple Mount. And that is my contention, that this configuration here makes sense and the other doesn't. Now, this drama of the destruction of Jerusalem, as described by Josephus, there are four acts. And the first act starts with the provocation by the Roman procurator, Florus, and the rebellion by several Jewish factions against Florus, against King Agrippa, and against the Jewish establishment, and the fighting that took place between all those parties in Jerusalem at that time. I will come back on that in a future video, but now I want to focus firstly on the second act and later on the fourth act. And the second act was the arrival of the Roman governor, Cestius, at the gates of Jerusalem, accompanied by a Roman legion, and the following siege of Jerusalem ending in his retreat for an unknown reason. Now, this story of Cestius is being told by Josephus in the Jeiwish Wars. That is book number 2, chapter 19, paragraph 4. It contains a lot of details, making it a long story, but we are only interested in the progress Cestius is making during his attack on Jerusalem. Now, what is happening? What happened at that time? Cestius arrived here at Mount Scopus, which is located about 1.5 kilometers north of Jerusalem. He started his attack on the north side of the city. To attack the city from the east or from the south is not considered to be doable. He attacked on the north side and he succeeded on a certain moment. Now, that meant we arrived at the situation that he had taken Bethsaida, and the next thing he did was he moved to the upper city and he put his camp over there, which makes sense to some extent. Upper city. He had the upper city as well. So this was the situation, and then he attacked the north side of the temple. So, north quarter of the temple, he attacked the temple right here. So far that makes sense. That was the configuration with the temple here and Antonia there. But if we try to tell this same story, but now in the alternative configuration, so that means this configuration over here, with Antonia here and the temple here, if we then try to make sense of the information that after he put up his camp in the upper city, he started to attack the northern side of the temple. He was basically doing that. Now, that doesn't make that much sense, because he could have done that after he had taken Bethsaida, and it doesn't make sense to put his camp over there as well. So, that seems to suggest that the alternative configuration makes more sense and is therefore more likely than the configuration of the conventional opinion. Now, if we continue with the acts, that was act number 2 in the drama that led to the ultimate destruction of Jerusalem. We go to the third act, and the third act was when Cestius, the Roman governor, has left the scene, and the different Jewish parties in Jerusalem are splitting into even more factions and indulge in even more violence against each other. And then the fourth and the final act of this drama starts with the arrival of Titus with 4 Roman legions at the gates of Jerusalem. Now, this story is being told by Josephus in Jeiwish War's book number 5, and that was chapter 2, I guess, paragraph 3. And again, this is also Titus arrived at Scopus, and he put his camp over there. Now, let me tell you the story, what happened in the configuration of the standard opinion. Now, Titus arrived at Scopus, started his attack on that side of the city. A lot is going on, but he finally succeeds to take Bethsaida and put his camp there in the corner. So the situation was that he had taken Bethsaida, and explicitly is mentioned that he cleaned up the whole city till the valley of Kidron, and not a single consideration is made to attack the temple on the north side, which Cestius did just a year before that, allegedly. No consideration is given to that possibility. No, what he did was he attacked the northern quarter from the north side. A lot is going on, but eventually he took the northern quarter. So the situation was like this. His camp was on the here in the corner. He had taken Bethsaida as well as the northern quarter, and then he makes a very strange consideration. Namely, he thinks that he can reach the temple only via 2 paths, namely via Antonia or via the upper city. Which doesn't make sense, because Cestius before him had attacked the temple here on the north side, and moreover with his conquest of the northern quarter, he could have accessed the temple immediately via this wall here. But no, he has the consideration that he can only take it via Antonia or via the upper city. So what does Titus do? He put up 2 ramps here and 2 ramps there. In fact, he gave the order to each of his legion to take care of one of those ramps, and 2 of them are attacking Antonia and 2 of them are attacking the upper city. Well, that ended up wasn't very successful. In fact, it was a disaster, and he had to reconsider at a certain moment, and he decided to focus all his attention on just one point, on Fortress Antonia, by all 4 of his legions. Well, A lot was going on, but eventually he succeeded in taking Fortress Antonia, and the situation was then like that the front line was here. He was attacking the temple from Fortress Antonia, allegedly to be there. Now, then there is another very strange thing being told, namely that he gave orders to dig up the foundations of Fortress Antonia in order to get access to the temple. Well, if we imagine a cross-section here, then the situation is as follows. You have here this temple mount with the temple over here, and next to it you have the Fortress Antonia here. Now what is being suggested is that Titus gave order to dig up the foundations of Fortress Antonia in order to get access to the temple. Well, he didn't get access to the temple when he is digging up the foundations of Antonia. What he should have said was that he take down the upper part of the walls from Antonia in order to get access to the temple square on the same level. In short, the whole story doesn't make that much sense in this conventional configuration. However, if we consider the same story, but now with the alternative configuration, let me take this one out. That one as well. Okay, alternative configuration. So the alternative configuration is this, and the same story till this point. Titus had attacked the city from the west side. He attacked the northern quarter from the north side. He succeeded to get into the northern quarter, and then he makes the consideration that he is only able to get to the temple either via Antonia or via the upper city, which makes sense. Totally. And he decided, I have told you before, that each legion should put up a ramp, two here and two there. It was a disaster. He decided to focus all his attention on one side, and eventually he was able to take Antonia, and the front line was moved to that location. Now, so, and then this digging up of the foundations became logical as well, because if we make a cross section at this location, what we have there is Fortress Antonia, and then the temple square with the temple somewhere over there. Now the Fortress Antonia is built on a mountain with retaining walls, and what you have here is just filling material. So it makes sense to dig up the foundation and get yourself access to the temple square on that same level. So here, that whole story of digging up the foundations makes sense, as well as Titus' considerations when he was in the northern quarter. Anyway, this again tells me that this configuration of Jerusalem makes more sense than the alternative. In the next video I will address the description Josephus gave us of the Fortress Antonia, as well as this description of the history of the citadel that ultimately became Fortress Antonia. Thank you for listening.